whole of Vrindavan, this small 4-line bhajan, is everything what you need to know about Vrindavan, which is Yashoda Nandan, Gopi Janvala, Yamuna Tira, Vanachari, Radha Madhava. So Madhava is named Krishna. It is the second most intimate name of Krishna after Krishna. Yes. Okay. So let's try to get it with all your energies and use your hands. Some people are playing kartal, some are playing mridanga. So what we can do, we can clap. They said that whoever claps in the kirtan, his fortune changes. I said that in one class, and everybody was looking at his hand. Jai Radha Madhava Kunjaliya when you are more absorbed in kirtan, do you feel better? Like it more? Right? Absorption is very important. We keep telling our kids, ध्यान से पढ़ो, ध्यान कहाँ है? Teachers, attention. So we will continue our discussion on Bhagavad Gita. Others would like to repeat the verses again, those 5 verses again, because we did 2, 3.
We did until 2:0, is it?
Yeah, you started from 2:0 to 2:5. We did it again. So.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Na jayate viryate va kadachin. Na jayate viryate va kadachin. Nayam bhutva bhavitavan bhuyah. Ajo nityah shashvatoyam purano. Nahanyate hanyamane sharire. Veda vedashinam sanityam. Nainam ajamavyam. Katham sa purusha partha. Kam ghatyati hantikam. Vansansi jirnani yatha vihaya. Navani gृह्णाति naroparaani. Tatha sharirani avihaya jirna. Anyani samyati navani dehi. Nenam chintanti shastrani. Nenam dahati pavakaha. Na chainam kedantyapo. Na shoshyati marutaha. Acchedoyam madhayoyam. Akedyo shosya evacha. Nityah sarvagata stharun. Achaloyam sanatanaha. Avyaktoyam achintoyam. Avikaryoyam uchyate. Tasmadevam viditvenam. Nanushochitamarhasi. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. ग्रंथ श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय।
So last time lessons you remember from the last time? Anyone remembers last time? आगे और पीछे छोड़.
Death is an examination and life is a preparation.
Death is an
Examination.
examination, life is a preparation. Oh, I do see that.
We didn't have it.
I also learned something. See, I also learned something. It's not that it's one-way track. Yes, life is preparation and death is the examination. What else? We are not we are spirit soul. We are not this body.
We learn
That's
the
very
qualities
important.
of the soul. We
Sorry?
learn about the qualities.
Qualities of the soul. You remember the size of the soul? Anyone? If you take your hair, जो आजकल वैसे गिर जाते हैं. So please pick it up. Then the tip of the hair you cut. Then the tip of the hair you cut into 100 pieces. Then that one piece you cut further into 100 pieces. That is the size of the soul. That is the power of spirit. Have you seen the Dreamliner 380? If you look it from a distance, how big is the pilot in front of the Dreamliner? This much. But he makes it run. You take out the pilot, 380 will not. So the body will be big. Even in elephant body also the soul size is same. No? In our body it's the same. The size of soul is same. So that's why it is very incomprehensible. You cannot see. How many of scientists can see, for example, electron? Now science says seeing is believing. In what you see, that's not what it is. You take a glass of water, you put a stick into it. It seems to be broken. It's called the law of refraction. It's not broken, but I can see it is broken. You take out, the stick is complete. Right? So seeing is not necessarily believing. Right? So electrons, can you see? Anybody has seen an electron? Any scientist? No. What you have seen is the effect of electrons. So by effect, you say there must be electrons. So proving seen by the proving unseen by the seen. Are you getting it? Proving unseen. जो नहीं देख रहा है, उसको कैसे प्रूव करेंगे? जो दिख रहा है. आप स्त्रियाँ कई बार आपने देखा है, pearls पहनते हैं. We have a pearls necklace. Can you see the thread? You cannot see the thread, right? But because the pearls are in a very nice fashion together, you can say, there's a thread behind the pearls. So what you can see, you can prove what you cannot see. When you see this universe is moving in such right direction, the earth gives fruit at the right time. Watermelons come in summer, oranges come in winter. It's perfect because the human body needs vitamins in winter more, so it comes. They need water more in summer, so you get melons and watermelons. Everything is perfect. So when you see such a nice arrangement, you deduce there must be some higher authority. It cannot be by chance. One day, Isaac Newton, the famous scientist, was talking to a friend, and this friend happened to be an atheist. He was not ready to listen. So after a few days, Newton invited him again into his lab. And in that lab, he saw a nice model of solar system. And his friend was very happy. He said, "Oh, this is beautiful." And it was a mechanical model of solar system. You have planets going around. And he said, "Who made this?" Oh, Newton said, "What happened yesterday night? I was sleeping. When I woke up, I came inside the lab. It was here." And he said, "Come on." He said, "Yes, it came by chance." And there was this to and fro argument. So Newton said, "Are you sure?" He said, "I'm 100% sure it cannot be by chance. He said, if the small model cannot be by chance, how do you expect the main solar system to be by chance? And then spread my lives for you. I think that's a very beautiful point. So yes, there is God. Of course, we all know how hard that is. On one hand, there is God. We are theists. Why Prabhuji is talking about, but you will meet people who will say, hey, kuch nahi hota. Doesn't exist. God doesn't exist. So we have, it's a scientific, it's not, this is religion, what you're doing today is religion, something very religious. When you go to the college, it's science. No. This is also science. But there's no institute. Prabhupada was in MIT. Prabhupada said, this is MIT, you have all department for everything. You have department for soul, department of consciousness. Now they are studying department of consciousness. In 1963, the Nobel Prize went to some scientists who actually introduced a concept called as antimatter. One is matter, and then there's antimatter. Of course, we call it as spirit. We know that. So, when you see the body moving, this is how you prove that there is consciousness. Waha Atma, there is Atma. So, if you take that Atma out, the body becomes useless. So, the relationship what you have is actually not with the body, because when the person dies, the body is there only. And what we say? Yes, left or he has passed away, but he's there. Right? So which means it's not the body, it is the spirit soul. But we are so conditioned in our life, we take too much care of the body and forget the real stuff. Agar the real stuff was the body, we would never burn bodies or some people bury the body, some people burn, and some people put it on top of Parsis. Cheeky eagles, they come and they eat. They have a nice feast. And I was referring to one of the Vaishnavas of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of the acharyas. He says, why are you so proud of this body, which will be anyway eaten by the worms or by the eagles and vultures? Very profound statement. Right? So we are not the body. Now when we say, it's a very difficult concept to figure out, that I'm not the body, I'm the soul. So what would be your lesson? What is the call for action you would like? Okay, we got to know we are not the body, we are the soul, and soul has these qualities. Soul never dies. Soul just changes bodies from one body to another. It's in the region of the heart. We also call that. Not in the heart, in the region of the heart. Otherwise, heart transplant and soul also transplant. No. Okay? So, why kind of continuously going around this is because Krishna also does the same thing. Now he's talking about Najayate Mriyate Vaganaj. So then he goes, Nainam Chandandi, and then he goes about changing clothes. Like, your dress becomes old, what do? You throw away and put on new clothes. Have you seen a person wearing new clothes and crying? My old dress. My old dress is gone. No, he will not cry. Maybe some are there. Somebody is pointing towards someone. But he doesn't become morose when he sees a new one. And it will depend also what kind of new dress you have. Human form of life, say, if I go back to animal life, it can be much more worse. Right? We discussed the story of Jad Bharat. Right? Bharat Maharaj, king of the world, becomes a deer. Hiran. But because his consciousness was elevated, he went around sadhus. And now the question of course comes is, when you talk about this Atma, soul, people feel, you're getting religious. There was a scientist, his name is Dr. Ian Stevenson. He passed away in 2007. So So he was a professor of psychiatry in university. I think it's the University of Illinois. Maybe I may be wrong, but we can just check that. In United States, he studied more than 2,000 cases of reincarnation. How many? 2,000. And these cases are very well documented. These books are published, is widely acclaimed. And he wanted to prove that this reincarnation is there. Like you understood the term reincarnation last time we discussed? Re means again, repeat. In means into. Kar means flesh, body. Yeah. Asian means the process. So the process of being cast again into the body is reincarnation. So Dr. Ian Stevenson, in one village in West Bengal, was the lady or girl, maybe slightly younger than her. Yeah? She would pick up a pillow and like you do the baby, she would do like this, and she would call it her. Her name was Meenu, and she called it Mana, and she would call her Meenu. She said, "It's my daughter." She was maybe very 3.5 or 4 years old, and parents felt like child imagination. And then she started talking about a place called Ratata. Her father's name was Mr. Gupta. He was in railways. So it's very well documented. It's no fairy. Everything, the station where he was working, everything, it's well documented. So she started talking about a village called Ratata, that's in West Bengal. But his father never heard of it. So when these things became more serious, and she was insisting, I want to go there to see my husband. And then it became okay, you know. And sometimes children play, he's my husband, I want to get married, and they would be like imitating their mothers. No, it was different, it was serious. So his father was discussing with a friend in the railways. His name was Mr. Sen. And he actually said that I have 2 cousins, there is a place called Ratadar, and I will figure it out. And they figured it out, and they actually later on took Mana there, and then they realized, and then they left her. So she wanted to go on her own. And she particularly, reached to that particular place, but then she was surprised because she said that door used to be here. She couldn't find a way how to go inside. And it was correct because in that village, when the dead body leaves from their house, they close that door permanently. They open it from somewhere else. So she went inside and there were 30 people, 30 young men, adult, standing. And she actually pointed over towards her husband. And she was very shy. She felt that shyness. And she would go quite often there. So it's a very well documented case. It was the case of Shukla, who had passed away a year back or something, some years back. So the other one was documented by BBC. That happened in New Delhi. That was the story of Titu Singh. He was an electronics dealer. So one day while he was going home, somebody came with a revolver and he shot him point blank. And he died. So after some years, in one place, there used to be one boy who would play around with kids. But as he grew up, he would tell his father that he has a family. He has kids. He has an electronic shop. I sell TVs. Yeah, I think maybe it's on YouTube as well. Maybe. And then, gradually when they went, and they actually saw, there was his wife, her name was Uma, and I guess the Delhi High Court reopened his case. And Titu Singh, in this form of boy, is telling the court, this man killed me. You understand the point? Because he had a birthmark here, back, where from the bullet had gone up, here a mark here, kind of a hole, kind of a depth. He had a birthmark here. So these cases are very well documented. It's very well scientifically known. Now you may say, if that is the case, why don't I remember? If you come to know your relative was your enemy last life, so it will become very difficult. It's Krishna's mercy that you don't remember. Imagine the kind of trauma. So normally it happens when people leave under certain traumatic condition. Like phobias. How do you define phobias? This gentleman is fearful of height. This gentleman is fearful of water. How do you define it? Did somebody push you into the water? Did somebody push you into? No. But there are certain past life experiences. And the mind is a repository of that. So let's go back to the previous one of our previous lessons. One of the Upanishads beautifully talks about it, and please remember this forever. There's a chariot, and chariot is driven by how many horses? Anybody knows? 5. 5 senses. Out of 5 senses. Right? We have 5 senses. And today, whoever I remembered is coming. But the second one I was saying. So these 5 horses are considered as 5 senses. And senses are jate, they go everywhere. Wherever they see sense objects, I go there. Ice cream, I want to taste this. Gulab jamun, please have it. Something nice you want to see, right? Or some nice music you want to hear. And then there is a chariot driver. There are reins, holding, lagam hai uske hath. And then there is somebody sitting. The passenger is sitting. So this Upanishad tells, Vedic scriptures explain this nice analogy that this chariot is nothing but the body. Body with the 5 senses. The rein is the mind. Lagam. Higher than senses is the mind. घोड़ों को कौन कंट्रोल कर रहा है? The लगाम. लगाम किसके हाथ में? The driver. Driver has a driver. So who's the driver? No. मन तो mind हो गया. Mind heart नहीं होता है. मतलब मन is mind. Don't get confused with the translation. Senses, 5 senses, mind. Mind higher than mind is actually intelligence. The discriminatory power, what is wrong, what is right, is the intelligence. Mind knows gulab jamun taste is good. I have tasted it. But intelligence बोलता है better diabetes. बच जाएगा. And then, if it is powerful, then he doesn't eat. But if it's weak, what will happen? Right? How many people know smoking is injurious? तो लिखा भी रहता है. Right? Isn't it? But people still smoke is the weak intelligence. So the driver is the intelligence. Who's the passenger?
Body.
No, body is the chariot. The soul. So intelligence कैसे इसको handle करेगा? How does control the soul will actually go to that particular place. So if the senses go astray, mind also, intelligence, then the soul is very, very important to understand. वो कहते हैं ना जो मन की करता है मन की सुनता है क्या बन जाता है जो मन की करता है मन की सुनता है वो क्या बन जाता है मन की एक टहनी से दूसरे टहनी keeps so we also keep switching right कभी इधर आनंद यहाँ का मजा लूट लिया थोड़ा ये खा लिया फिर वो खा लेंगे फिर ये खा लेंगे we keep hopping around from one sense to another sense objects It's a very beautiful example, right? Will you remember this? Huh? 5 horses are 5 senses. The senses are right at this level. Controlling them is the mind. Controlling mind is intelligence. And then there is soul. This is very important. This is a practical application of this learning. Of understanding that I am not the body, I am the soul. The second lesson what we get out of it is we must take care of our soul also. We forget. Okay, theoretically to samajh gaya, but of course, understanding very practically, we are not big yogis and all. But what we can do is that there should be specific duties for the bodies. We must take care of our bodies, but we should not forget the soul. You remember the story of the parrot and the old lady? How many of you remember? हाँ? अरे राक्षस आत्मा ये कहाँ आ गया? ये पिक्चरों का ज्यादा देखने से ये होता है। तोता जैसे बोला नहीं तो सीधा राजा की आत्मा इसके अंदर है, इसको ऐसा करो तो वो राक्षस बन जाएगा। This is the power of narratives. How narratives are built. Narratives सुनाई मैं तो खुद हैरान हूँ।
Talking about the analogy, is it? The lady who
the
was
story.
cleaning the
No, it's a story. The old lady had a parrot. This was a very poor old lady. But parrot would sing nicely. So she would take him out in the market, and one day he started chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So people started giving her some money, So she became little rich. And she one day felt gratitude. She said, it's because of the parrot. He said, I will build him a nice home. So that whole day, whole night, she was decorating the cage. Golden paint, this paint, that paint, varnish, this, that. Next day she woke up and the parrot was dead. I asked the question to a group once, क्या हुआ? एक ने बोला उसकी केमिकल की स्मेल से मैं तोता मर गया। मैंने बोला कि पक्का इंजीनियर बनेगा। Yeah, I said, imagination, that's engineer for you, right? He is bound to be an engineer. Because she forgot to feed the parrot that day. She was too engrossed in the cage that what was the most important thing was the parrot. She forgot it. We do the same thing. अरे बाल जल रहे हैं, अरे सोल का क्या? अच्छा अभी ये हो गया, ये हो गया, और ये पता भी है, we know that this body is going to go. This is very puzzling. We are not saying don't take care. You must take care, but you must not neglect the soul. This is the most, that's why Krishna keeps coming back to the same point. His soul marta nahi, please try to understand the qualities and things, it's eternal. Please take care of something which is eternal rather than something which is temporary. How many of you किराए के हाउस में कौन रहा है? किराए के घर पे? So कभी आपसे रूफ पे चढ़े क्या पूरा साफ कर दो इसको, ये चकाचक लगना चाहिए. ठीक है, कौन सा किराए? कबर्ड लगाएंगे आप लोगों ने? You get the architecture, need nice cupboards here, decorate this. Cupboard पूरा लगा दो, like with the wall and all that. Do you do that? You don't. The first thing the Mataji says, the lady says, "Hey, idiot है, इधर से निकलने का है. It's not permanent place anymore. Simple. What break our head boss है? Store में लेके आते हैं, movable रहना चाहिए. So when it's our own house, what do? प्रॉपर प्लानिंग, आर्किटेक्चर है. अब तो लेडी बताती है खर्चा कैसे करना चाहिए. You try this, right? Simple thing, because you know it's my own. I will not be kicked out. That this body will be kicked out one day and you don't even know. वो बिना notice के आ जाता है. There's no notice. Sometimes, that's what I said, death can be very clear. It's an exam where nobody tells you. I met a devotee, he was suffering from cancer, last stage. And I thought I will go and speak some nice positive things. He will become happy, but little positivity. When I went there, I cannot tell you honestly, the way he spoke, I felt a lot of positivity. He said, it's such a blessing that I got 4-stage cancer. He says, now I know at least the death is coming. He said, I'm preparing pretty well. Huh? I'm chanting this, that, I'm in Vrindavan. I'm ready to go. I was shocked. And then I realized this knowledge is not just theoretical. The practical application of this knowledge is that it will make you fearless of death. This is not something ordinary gathering here, please. We are making you fearless of death. And that's the verse number 40. We will come to that pretty soon in this very chapter where Krishna explains this. Traite mahato bhayat, he says. He says, it will deliver you from the greatest fear. What is the greatest fear? Greatest fear is because at the time of death, what will happen? You will lose everything you have. Relationship. यमदूत आ गया, MIT से पढ़ा, NTU, NUS तो पहले लगा बेटा. Yeah. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. He will even say you will go quicker because you will become an idiot. Don't get like that. Right? So Krishna, that's why he keeps explaining this. Here he says in the 20th verse, Na jayatam vedam kadachan. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. And when we know, for the body, what was the verse number 13? We studied. Dehinosmetade, Kaumaram, Yauvanam, and Jara. And we have all three examples sitting here right now. Kaumaram, Yauvanam, and Jara. Right? Now somebody may say, Bhavya, no, who is old? Let's define this also. I'm sorry. I hope it's not too technical, right? Keeping it technical. Who is old? We say, yeah, जिसका बाल सफेद हो गया है, जिसका दांत पूरा 32 नहीं है, whatever. We defined it. But the real definition of being old is one who's closer to death. That's what we are trying to say. But who knows? There's no guarantee today. Nowadays, actually, there is no guarantee. Maybe 50 years back, there could have been some. Maybe इतना तो system खराब नहीं है. It's okay. I'll stay calm. But now, very different. I had a colleague. I worked with him 16 years. I just got the news. Just passed away. Done. 43, 35, 37. And I know the person. I have a friend. She's a big HR leader. And I was talking to her, and the next day she calls me and she said, my husband passed away. I said, but how? He said, he felt a little strange pain. He said, can you get me some water? I said, I went, get some water. By the time I came back, he was gone. So, it should make us, that's why when you visit hospital, what happens? You become very sober. So sometimes these experiences teach us, but we are supposed to be don't have the association quite often, we tend to forget. We move on. We must move on, but we at the same time remembering what we are supposed to do. So the biggest lesson of all what we have been studying in sessions is we should not just take care of the body. We should also do food for the soul. Just like there's a food for body, the food for soul. What is food for body? Is what we eat, right? And we should eat preferably food which is cooked in a very sattvic way, like vegetarian, for example. It's very sattvic. It doesn't agitate your senses. You look at the length of the intestine of the cow, which is herbivorous animal, and intestinal length of humans is more or less same. And the carnivorous animals, it's very short. So they eat meat, quickly it comes up. In herbivores, it will stick for a longer time, and that it can cause issues like diseases, etc. Now, are the Vedas very specific about it? No. Vedas are always very flexible. If you have nothing to eat, what you do? Vishwamitra had to meat once because there was nothing in the place he was. Old people do. Everybody says fasting, Ekadashi fasting, for example, is coming, right? Tuesday is Ekadashi. For very old people, it's all right. Pregnant women, it's all right. They should not fast. See? I can honestly say this, that our Vedic scriptures teachings, if learned properly from the right source, they are very, very practical. Small babies, it's all right if they do not fast. So having a nice, simple lifestyle, taking care of the body, taking care of the responsibility, but at the same time taking care of the soul. Because that's something which is individual. That's something which is you, which defines you. So let's touch some of the verses Krishna is explaining here, and especially this example in verse number 22. Can somebody read the translation of this?
As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, thus all similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless things.
Yes. So how many of you like stories, right? All of you like stories. I like stories. So this famous king, his name was Chitraketu. And Chitraketu he was a big king, but he had many wives, but he had no children. And finally, after, but he was very morose, he was not happy. And then one day, in his kingdom, Narada Muni came. And Narada Muni tried to teach him, but he saw that he was very morose. So he blessed him. He said, "You will have a child." But he said, "This child will be the cause of your suffering as well as happiness." So king thought for a while. I said, "Of course, I understand. You do some shaitani and just like people do, kids do, right? And then you feel like, and then sometimes they give you amazing happiness also." He said, "All right, yeah." And then one of the principal queens bore a baby, and there was a baby boy. And the king, because the king remembered what Narada had said, he named him Harshashoka. Harshashoka. The someone who is the cause of Harsha means happiness. Shoka means sadness. Now because he got this one, and the whole kingdom, the king was happy, everybody was jubilant, and the baby was coming up nice. But what happened was he started to neglect other queens. So his main focus was the principal queen because she bore the baby. And these other queens were really, really neglected. And what happened is that they felt the reason of their neglect, them being neglected, was the baby. So what they did, they poisoned the baby, they killed him. And when King heard this news that the baby is dead, he became mad. He didn't know what to do. And he was in such a state. It's described, I don't even have words how to describe it. It's very difficult. To even comprehend the pain he must have been going through. And that time, Narada Muni came back again. Looking at the situation of Chitraketu Maharaj. And he said, why are you crying? He said, what happened? I got this after so many years and so many things. And now he's dead. So by the power of Narada, he touched this child, and this child came back into consciousness. So this child came back into consciousness. And this child started to speak. And Narada Muni asked him, why did you leave? And this particular child spoke very profoundly. He said, by the will of the providence, by my karma, I was supposed to take birth here. I did. Now the time in this body is up, and I, at the appropriate time, I'm leaving this body and I'm passing on, going to the next body. So after they heard, it was like almost like a session, like we have been doing for so many weeks. So he gave it in a summary style. And his father understood all. And then it said, Bhagavatam explains, this comes in Srimad Bhagavatam, that Chitraketu Maharaj actually became a very famous devotee later on. He took the instructions of Narada Muni, he focused on the soul also, and then he had darshan of Vishnu at the same time. So again, this is a story of how the transmigration of the soul happens from one body to another. Just like, again, the example that Krishna gives is of vastrani, the dress. When the dress becomes old, you throw it, and then you take new clothes. In the same way, the soul passes from one body to another. Is that understood? 23 also, can somebody read? The qualities of the soul are given in the verse 23.
The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind.
Yes. So here also you see that nobody can kill the soul. Soul is eternal. Why is it eternal? Because soul, we all are parts and parcel of God. So whatever the qualities in God are there, same are within us also. If Krishna says, I am eternal, so are we. Atma and Paramatma both are eternal. But the quantum is different. He is Paramatma. For example, how big is the ocean here? Massive. What is the ocean? It's salty water, right? Can we produce salty water? Yeah, sweat. But what we can produce is some drops. What Christians produce, it's like an ocean. So from a qualitative perspective, quality-wise, we are same as Krishna, same as God. But quantitative-wise, we are Atma, He is Paramatma. We are subservient to that, to Krishna, to Paramatma, to God. So the quality-wise, we are same. That's why we want to be here eternally. We don't want to stop enjoyment because the nature of the soul is to enjoy perpetually. But the problem is you are in a condition which is very limited. What is that rule of economics? Law of diminishing. Economics by finance? No? Law of diminishing utility, something like that? Right? Something like that. Okay, you can So which means you want gulab jamun, I give you one. I give you second. You eat third, fourth, fifth. The same gulab jamun you are really craving in a few moments. But the thing with soul is the enjoyment tendency is infinite. But the problem is with the body. It can't go beyond a certain. So if you really want to enjoy, you need to come out of this place. Simple. Make sense? Right? So the easiest way is to start your spiritual journey lazy. That's the point. Not just, okay, you're here, no, because after next session I'll ask you, you have forgotten. And Tota wo. Huh? So that will speak in Ramayana, okay? Ramayana, there comes this pastime, very beautiful pastime. Ravana had a brother called as Mahirava. Not many people know about it, but yes. Some of the Ramayana actually talks about it. And he took Ram Lakshman into the nether worlds, basically, down, Loka, Patal, Loka. And he wanted to kill them actually. Yes, please, thank you. This is also internal explanation. You need to also try to make later. This is very So Ravana had a brother, his name was Mahiravan. Should we tell that story? Quick one. But we'll explain it in more detail. So Mahiravan came to know that Ravana, that's a good story, is fighting this war. And Hanuman also comes to know, oh, Mahiravan has become active. And Mahiravan was a big kind of illusory powers. He had tremendous amount of powers. It said he had almost a cave going beneath the earth from almost Sri Lanka up to Brazil. And that's why they see still some temples of Hanuman up there in Brazil. So Hanuman makes a fort with his tail. The only way to go into the fort is through the air of Hanuman. So they keep everybody inside that fort. And one night, Hanuman is sitting and Vibhishan is walking. Vibhishan says, I'll go inside and check it out if everything is alright. So he enters. After some time, Vibhishan comes back again. Hanuman says, how did you come on? He says, I never went there. Hanuman looked behind, Ram Lakshman are not there. So it was Mahiravan. So he takes them down. And of course, there's a lot of fighting, and Mahiravan's prana are also at 3 different places. You have to do 3 things simultaneously so that he gets killed. 3 places. 1, somebody has to kill him, like literally pierce his body. And then in Himalayas there are 5 candles. 5. They have to be blown off simultaneously. And there's a mani which is on the head of a serpent has been broken. All 3 same time. Then you get killed. So Ram actually does this, but Hanuman by the time is in the Himalayas, and he's trying to blow the lamps. He blows 1 lamp, second he blows, first comes back again. And then Hanuman is thinking, he blows third, second comes, fourth, third comes back again. And then Hanuman is thinking what to do. Then he realizes I'm the son of Pavan Lord. Takes all the oxygen out. All 5. Right? And of course Lakshman takes the money, Shesha, because he's Sheshana, so the serpent doesn't do anything. So all 3 things are done at the same time. And then Mahiravan is killed. That's a high, very high yogic siddhis actually. But that's I just wanted to touch upon that. But most important for us is to understand in the second chapter. That's why Krishna it names this chapter proper, names this chapter as Contents of the Gita Summarized. So Gita is very, very scientific. I was talking to one person today. He's undergoing some difficult situation in life. And I told him, you must take shelter of Krishna. And I told him some particular verse. And behold, actually I opened the same page in the 9th chapter. There's a verse, verse number 31, if you want to read it. It's a very nice verse. Chapter 9, text 31. So here Krishna is explaining. I'm just trying to give you an idea how scientific, how beautiful Bhagavad Gita is explained by Krishna. It's very scientific. Why he says Kaunteya sometimes. Why he says Dhananjaya at times. Because he wants to invoke certain sentiment, emotion in Arjuna. You're son of Kunti. Doesn't fit you. Right? This kind of behavior, for example. When your legacy dilai jati hai, it's basically to invoke that you must present your best version. That's why we must have legacy to follow. If you do not have a legacy which you can follow, then you are on your own. You will always present your mediocre version to people. Any tough situation, you present a mediocre situation because you need the escape route. Because you have a legacy to carry forward. It's very important. If you don't have it, figure it out. Do I have some legacy to carry on, to pass it on to my next generation? Extremely important. It's not about just making them the rats. Rat race and return to bar. And even if he wins the race, he's still a rat. Doesn't become a lion. Right? So Krishna here explains, Kaunteya prati janani name bhaktya pranashyati, 931. He says, O Arjuna, go and boldly declare, O son of Kunti, Kaunteya, go and declare boldly that my devotee will never perish. So I was explaining to this devotee that please take shelter of Krishna. He's a nice devotee, but he's having some difficult times at office and all. So, and I said, now Krishna would have said, I declare boldly, my devotee never perishes. Simple, no? Why to say, go, O Arjuna, you declare boldly that my devotee never perishes? And our acharyas explain that many people know that Krishna sometimes breaks his promise, his own word. Like Krishna said, I am not raise a weapon, right? But he did raise the chariot wheel, right? Correct? But they also know that Krishna never allows the word of his devotee go in vain. That's why Krishna says to Arjuna. So even in this battlefield of Kurukshetra, where Krishna is explaining, very minute things are being taken care of. So Bhagavad Gita is a very, very powerful study. So of course we are not reading line by line, but my humble suggestion to you would be, when you go back home or you come here, normally we take a set of say 5 verses. If you read it, you will enjoy the sessions much, much more. Okay? And if you have some certain question, of course you can note it also. That also becomes a part of your own self-study. So don't keep it a 15-day affair. Make it an everyday affair. Even if it's one line, one page. Become a sage, page by page. If you read every day, one page. Honestly speaking, these books are very, very powerful. I've met people whose lives are transformed just by reading this book. I met a colonel who was in the army, in Russian army, Moscow. So I told him, how did you become a devotee? He said, well, I was going, and these devotees came and they had me on Bhagavad Gita. I had some noodles and I was just kind of, he said, I used to just read, I never understood what was on the Sanskrit, but I would read this bold English. You see the meaning is in bold, but the purport is normal, right? He thought the bold one is more important. So he would just read the whole thing. But he read it very religiously every day. And he said, one day I had a dream. And you know, he said, this person came in my dream. Prabhupada came in his dream. He said, he told me, please read the other stuff also what I printed. And then he actually became a devotee. He started looking up. He said, this is real stuff. Author is coming in the dream to tell him, please read the purport also, Baba. You see? And I've seen his life transformed. You know, he chants 32 rounds every day. He thinks that he's been too late. So Bhagavad Gita is for everybody. Whether you're a professional, whether you're a teacher, housewife, student. I'll end up with one beautiful story. It was in Paris, in France. One of Prabhupada's disciples, he got to know, he was giving a class, and he got to know that Prabhupada has come to France. And they are a little far from Paris, like 10-hour drive or something. And in the class only he said, is there anyone you would like to meet? My guru has come, who has taught me all this. You can imagine it's like 1970s. And one hand rose behind, and he saw he was an admiral. You could see. And he said, I would like to meet the person who has taught you this. And they drove him 10 hours down to Paris to see Srila Prabhupada. And when he came in, like an admiral, with these colors, these medals, and these inside, and Prabhupada looked at him and Prabhupada said, made him sit. He was very respectful. Prabhupada said, you are interested in Bhagavad Gita? I said, yes, maybe. And Prabhupada said, oh yes, you are from army. Arjuna was also a warrior, he said. Prabhupada said, and immediately he connected. He said, you are a warrior, so was Arjuna. And Krishna spoke it on the battlefield. Oh, he said, what is it? He said, so Swamiji, which book should I read to get my basics of spirituality? And Prabhupada said, Bhagavad Gita. And matter of the fact was, the French Bhagavad Gita was just published that time. And Prabhupada said, do we have a copy? And they bought a copy and Prabhupada gave it to the admiral. And he saw the size of the book. Normally, we get into 600 pages. Okay. He says, is there any specific chapter I can read to understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness? Prabhupada said, 9th chapter. 9th chapter is called the most confidential knowledge. And they conversed for a while. He took some prasadam and then left. After many years, there was no contact, unfortunately, because devotees were just happy that this admiral had come and they forgot to take his contacts. So after many years, this devotee is distributing books outside. There's a big function happening, so he's outside on the road. He's trying to, and he's thought, if I sneak into this gala, dinner, whatever is happening, maybe I can distribute better books. But these security guards, they picked him up and pushed him out. And he actually almost fell on the road. And from the top, you could see the gala dinner was happening, and one of the persons saw him. And he told the guards to get him in. You know who he was? The same guy who 20 years. And then he met him and he said, do you remember? And he said, yes. He said something very profound, and it has remained with me also. It made such an impact on me when I heard it. This admiral said, there's never a day passes by when I don't remember your spiritual master. There's never a week that passes by in my life when I don't read the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is the manual of it. So my suggestion would be, will you please go back home, make it a habit. This is the, again aside, the food for soul. We have to make a conscious decision. We are too much focused on Fatmawali. Go greens, organic, inorganic, this, that. That's okay. That's needed. But don't neglect. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Is there any questions or comments, any experience you want to share with the class? Yes.
इंद्रजीत ने जब नागपाश छोड़ा था लक्ष्मण जी को चित में, तो वो तो शेषनाग के अवतार ही है, वो कैसे फिर उस पर असर पड़ गया?
No. She's asking a question from Maya. She says Indrajit threw the Nag Pasha on Lakshman. Why did he? He was Shesha. Valid question. It's some similar like why Ram is crying. Sita, see, who took Sita and asking everybody to? He's God, Baba. But that's the rule. He wants to teach you that married life is not easy, isn't it? But we don't learn, right? So Lakshman is playing the role. He plays such a role of being in that human form, so to say. But actually, he's Shesha. If that would have not happened, Hanuman would have never gone and done his service to Ram and Lakshman. So these are past tense, one must understand in totality. Because if you bring the concept at the wrong place, then you miss the whole lesson of the past tense. अरे ये तो भगवान ने तो सब पता था फिर क्यों सीता को क्यों लेके गए? नहीं, वो it was ordained like that Ravana will kidnap Sita and that will become the very cause of his destruction. So like that. And it was a powerful energy. So sometimes Krishna also allows a devotee to, like Lakshman, to become unconscious so that the power which is given to the Nagpasha stands as it is. And it's not having kabhi kaam karta, kabhi nahi karta. Yeah? Right? Even when Krishna is, say for example, when Krishna appears, Garga Muni comes, right? It's on the 100th day. So he gives the name-giving ceremony of Krishna. It's explained in Bhagavatam. So he tells the chart of Krishna that this boy came in previous life in this color. In various yugas he comes with different colors. So the astrological chart is given. Now astrology, why do we need astrology for God? But he just wants to prove that scientifically this is how it is. It's a proper science. Like Krishna is born, his Rashi is Vrishab. So the moon is in the Vrishab Rashi. Rashi is you remember, right? Rashi means wherever the moon is, that becomes your Rashi. Now moon is the owner or boss of Cancer, Karka. But he becomes exalted in Vrishab. He becomes complete there. Though Krishna is born on Janmashtami, Ashtami means half, but because he's coming into the Yadu dynasty, Soma, which means moon, earlier he came as Ram as Suryavamshi, right? There are two Vamshas, Suryavamshi and Yadu Vamshis. The moon became so happy. Krishna is coming in my this thing. So although it was Ashtami, but he was exalted because he was in Vrishab. In Vrishab, moon is extremely happy. And in Scorpio, which is opposite sign of Vrishab, moon becomes not so happy, it's weak. That's what astrology class Sunday. So Scorpions have a very unique identity because moon is in 8th. Any other